If you want to grow your accounting firm, then one of the things that's critically important is to use the right words. And in this video, we're going to share with you what are the right words to have on your website, what are the right words to have in all of your marketing, and what are bad words. So we'll see you in a couple of seconds. In this video, we're going to talk about copywriting, the right words, but particularly we're going to focus on your website. What are the right words to have on your website? And one of the problems I see in our profession is when I look at other firms of accountants and bookkeepers' websites, the problem with almost every website in our profession is they all say the same things. They all say the same things. And so we have to stand out, because if we're saying the same things as everybody else, then somebody looking for a new accountant or a new bookkeeper will end up just choosing the cheapest. And that's not a good thing to do. So I'm going to bring in our expert on this, Emily Cross, who's our head of marketing at the Value Pricing Academy. She is an expert on writing copy and building websites. She also helps and works with other accountants and helps them with their websites, their copy, their marketing. So, hi there, Emily. Great to have you back. And if you've not yet met Emily, then that means you've not watched the first 3 videos in this series. If you've missed the first 3, we'll put the links to them in the description below, so you can catch up with those. This is video number 4 out of 6. So, Emily, what we're going to cover in this is we're going to look at what are the 5 things that make a great website. We'll then start to have a look at what are bad words to have on a website, what are some of the good words, and we'll also talk about some general copywriting tips that will help with creating the words, not just for your website, but all of your content marketing, which of course is something, Emily, we talked about at length in video number 2, if I've got it right. Let's start though with thinking about a website, because you do some of the training in the Value Pricing Academy in our Marketing Monday sessions, teaching people how to build a great website. And I know you talk about 5 things. So take us through, let's go through those 5 things. Let's start with the first one, which is authority positioning. What is that?
Yeah, so we've mentioned a couple of times about positioning yourself as the expert in your chosen field, niche, whatever it might be. So your website should position you as the expert of that area and show, that you know what you're talking about, that you would be a good person to work with because you are the expert of that particular niche. I work with a couple of people who maybe work in the dental industry, has a dental pharmacy business, so and is the head of saving tax in there. So when somebody lands on your page, they know exactly that you are exactly right for them because you speak directly to their business and you are the expert of that area.
Awesome. Okay, and we talked about the importance of ideal clients way back in video number 1. It's really the starting point of your marketing. You need to be clear about who you are working for and make sure that comes across on your website. You also want to, another thing we touched on at the very start of this video, is the problem with most people's websites is they all say the same things. We all look the same, and so if you look the same as everybody else, then people will choose you on price. So the second thing we have to do, Emily, is differentiation. Anything you want to add on the area of differentiation?
Yeah, I mean, when you're in the accounting and bookkeeping industry, it's very much a relationship industry, and people are choosing to work with you because of who you are. So we're with someone, we love Neil, who's really into heavy metal and drinks cider and stuff, and that's very much his personality, and it's almost a selling point because people love who he is and that's who they want to work with because you're going to work with them for a long time. So on your website, you can differentiate yourself not only by the niche that you work in, but by showing your personality, showing who you are, and what your vision and your values are, and those sorts of things, and adding that level of personality and showing what it's going to be like to work with you, what kind of person you are. So a good way to differentiate on your website.
Absolutely. Neil's one of our members of the Value Pricing Academy, but also one of our trainers who helps other people in the academy. And he's an extraordinary accountant building a great firm where his positioning or his personality really comes across really strongly, which helps him build up clients, get clients that are like him. Okay, that's the first two. So authority positioning and differentiation. The third component of a great website, Emily, is lead capture. Do you want to talk a little bit more about that?
Yeah, so in the last video, we talked about a lead generation system, which is where you give a piece of content away and there's a form that they put their name and email address in. So you can have something like that on your website where it is grab this piece of content, or you can have something like a contact form where it's slightly less sophisticated. It's not sending out a series of emails, you're not giving away a piece of content. It's just a way to say, reach out and ask us a question, or reach out and get in touch with us to book a meeting or something like that. It's just a way of them putting their name and email address in and getting in touch and starting that communication with you.
Absolutely, because whilst things like you can use tools to see how many people are visiting your website, you don't know who's visited your website, and that means that you want to make sure you capture their contact details. If you want to see how that might look in action, then why not check out our website, www.wickersham.co.uk, and you'll see right at the top of the homepage are two buttons, one for accountants, one for bookkeepers, that takes you through to a page where you can get so many free resources. We'll put some of those resources below this video, but there's even more free resources when you visit our website. Okay, Emily, that's the third one. Then the fourth idea, let's talk about this idea of starting a journey.
Yeah, so one of the things that we teach in the academy is when it comes to marketing, it's a long form. You're working on building a relationship with somebody by building what we call the KLT factor, which is know, like, and trust. So in order for somebody to buy from you, they want to know, like, and trust you. So when they land on your website, for a lot of people, it's the first point of contact. It's the first way they find you. They've gone onto Google and typed in bookkeeper in my area or something like that, and they found your website. So what you put on your website is normally the very first impression. So you need to be careful about what you put on there and make sure that it's a good first impression, basically. Yeah.
Great. And the fifth area, we call user experience, and I guess there's two sides to that. There's partly the technical side of it, how quickly do the pages load and stuff like that. But given that we're talking today about marketing, let's talk about the other side of it, the marketing aspects of user experience. Just give one or two tips or key points in that area, Emily.
Yeah, so we're talking a lot today about copywriting and the right words to use. Now, a lot of the time, people are going to get to your website, they're going to skim read it. They're not really going to put, they're not going to read every single word. Some people will, but the majority are going to skim. So when we're talking about user experience in this way, we're talking about, what kind of layout you've got, are you drawing out the more important words, big headlines, and just making those key phrases and the most important things really stand out on the page, so that if they do quickly skim down it, they are getting the essential bits of information straight away.
Great. So let's drill a little bit deeper now onto what are some great words, some great things to have on your website. But first, actually, let's look at some bad things. So I've spent many times looking at accountants and bookkeepers' websites, critiquing them to see which are the good ones, which are the bad ones. And one of the things that I see over and over again is firms just have it saying all the same things, all the same. And we talked about differentiation is so important. And so we want to be different. And yet I still see on most people's websites, I see things like, we were established in 1936. Okay, that's bad words, because somebody looking for a new accountant or a new bookkeeper doesn't care about you. They don't care about when you were established. They care about themselves. So we shouldn't be putting things like when we're established. That's just a waste of time. Another thing that makes me laugh is when people say things like, we are a friendly firm of accountants. But you're not going to say you're unfriendly, are you? I mean, that's kind of a given that hopefully you are friendly. There's no point in saying that. You have to be friendly, not say you're friendly. I see I see often phrases along the lines of, we're different. And then you read the rest of the website and they're saying the same things as everybody else. Don't say you're different, be different. I also see things like, we offer a free initial consultation. Well, if everybody offers a free initial consultation, what makes you different? I see people saying, we're a firm of accountants and we do tax returns, bookkeeping, accounts, and cash flow forecasting. Yes, that's the same as everybody else. So the bad words are, we've got to get away from being the same as everybody else. And before we bring Emily back on with some great words, just a final thought on that. In video number 6 in this series, we're going to talk about ChatGTP and how that can make your life so much easier, save you huge amount of time when it comes to marketing. However, we have to use it with care, because a friend of mine recently reported how he used it and asked it to create some words for a website for a firm of accountants. And what was interesting is what ChatGPT came out with was pretty much the same words that are on every firm's website. So we have to be really, really careful. And certainly if we're going to use ChatGPT, there's some things we can use for things that we can do in the wrong way. So there's some examples of bad things. We want to be different. We want to differentiate ourselves. So Emily, talk us through some great words and things that we should have on our website.
Okay, so in the vein of that, differentiating yourself, if you have a niche or a specialism, and a way that you position yourself as an expert in a certain field, maybe it's by service, maybe it's by industry, then leading with that on your website is a great way to distinguish yourself, because I'm not just a random accountant. I'm an accountant who specializes in the restaurant industry and also specializes in business advisory for the restaurant industry. So then when your ideal client lands on your website and they are a restaurant owner, they're going to say, this is the perfect place for me to be. And when your non-ideal client, so let's say a plumber, lands on your website, they're going to say, well, this is for restaurant owners, I don't want to work with them. And that's good, because you don't want to work with that person because they're not in the restaurant industry. So leading with your niche, if you have one, is a great way to differentiate yourself without just saying we're different. You're showing that you are different and that you specialize in a particular area. So one of the great things as well to do on your website is, rather than saying we're established in, we do this, we're friendly, rather than talking about yourself, talk about the client and about what you can do for them, what value you can give to them, what kind of person they are. So you can lead by saying, we know that people in this industry struggle with X, Y, Z. Is that you? And the language that, when you have that really good grasp of who that ideal client is, you can start to really tailor your language to say, what kind of problems that they struggle with and how you are going to tackle those problems. We know you struggle with this, and that's why we offer this solution, because we know that it's going to help you and get you to those goals that we know you want to reach. And that's going to speak much more to somebody on a website than it is saying, we were established in this year and we do X, Y, Z services. So you're leading with what's helpful to them. And another great thing to add is what we call your origin story, or maybe your hero story, which is showing that you've been there and you've done it and you've made that transition. So it's showing where you were before, where you are now, and what the bridge was that got you to that point. So if you're helping with business advisory, for example, and you are running your own firm yourself, then you might say, I used to really struggle in business, and then I learned all of these great techniques, and now I'm running a really, really profitable, really successful business. And in our business advisory service, I'm going to help you do exactly the same thing. And I've kind of done it myself. You can see where I was and where I am. So having some sort of story in that sense, it's about you, but it's also it's about what the client can get from you and get that journey of moving from where they are now, and they're going to relate to that before stage, and they're going to aspire to the after stage, which means they're going to really desire the bridge, which is your service. So that's a really powerful thing to have on there as well. The thing that you might have right up very at the top of the page as well is a strong position statement, which is literally just one or two sentences, which is who you help and how you help them, and why you help them. So, we help the restaurant industry to save on tax because we've been there, and it's one of our important things. We love working with the restaurant industry. So something, a bit more eloquent than that might be something that you put really high up on the top of the website. And that's just a couple of things that you might include on there.
Awesome. And just to go back to that idea of origin story, so just to give you an example of that, I often, when I do webinars, I will share my story. And my story is, if you don't know, I am an accountant that's been in the profession for over 30 years now. Way back in 1996, I started my own accounting firm as a sole practitioner with no clients. I grew it fast, but I made so many crazy mistakes. Every mistake you can think of, I made. And it wasn't until end of 98, 1999, I discovered a better way of pricing, a better way of growing an accounting firm. And my firm turned around fast, and particularly with value pricing, which enabled me to turn it into a profitable business, which I then sold to my client managers. And I've spent the last couple of decades now teaching other accountants around the world how to build a successful accounting business. That's my story. And you need to tell your version of that story in a way that clients will think, you're like me, you're struggling, and you found a way, and you're getting great results. I want to know you're the person I need to follow. Okay, let's move on. Let's just wrap up really quickly with a quick fire copywriting tips. And I think what we'll do is these are things that will help you not just with your website, but actually all of your content marketing, all of your marketing. Words are so important, as we've said before, way back on video number 1 in this series, is that words are critical. So let's just very quickly share with you a handful of tips. And let me go with the first one. So the first one, in all of your marketing, you want to talk about them. They're interested in how you can help them. That's why things like saying on your website, we were established in 1936. Nobody's interested in that. That's not why they're going to choose you. They want to know how you're going to help them. So in all of your marketing, talk about them, not about you. Emily, have you got another tip?
Yeah, so the next one is write like you speak. So you don't need to use super complicated words because it makes it harder to read. It makes it harder for people to engage with. So just write at a really basic level and say as you would speak in a conversational kind of tone.
Perfect. Absolutely. Next one, marketers teach us that people don't buy features, they buy benefits. And what that means is that in all of our communication, we need to be talking about the benefit. What's the benefit of what we do? What's the end result? Not the features. If we mention a feature like we will reconcile your bank account, that's a feature, but that's got benefits to the client. You have to make sure that if you're going to say on your website that you reconcile bank accounts, what is the benefit of that? How do they benefit? What's the end result? Emily, have you got another one?
Yeah, so people tend to buy or make buying decisions when you use emotive language and their emotions rather than trying to logic things out sometimes. So trying to speak to some emotion that they're feeling, whether it's stress or overwhelm or something like that, and what emotion they might feel in the future, relief or relaxation or ease. Speaking to emotions is a really powerful way of writing as well.
Absolutely. Next one, I've got tip number 5, if I'm counting right. One of the things we know is that people are more motivated by the avoidance of pain than they are by the attainment of gain. Marketers have tested that in marketing headlines, for example. We're going to talk about that a bit more on the next video. But what that means is that, yes, whilst people want to retire early, whilst people want to buy that fancy car, that's the gain. Actually, much more compelling, we want to move away from pain. If we're feeling pain right now, like cash flow is terrible, we can't meet payroll at the end of the month, That pain is something that we want to move away from fast. And if you can solve people's pain, if you can talk about their pain, then that's going to create a desire to take action much more compelling than just talking about the gains. Emily, let's have one more.
Last one is to make it easy to read. So don't use giant paragraphs of text because people aren't going to sit and read it. You can break it up. Make things stand out with headlines and underline things and bold things. Make sure it's dark text on a light background. Just things like that are going to make it easier for them to consume. So especially breaking up the big paragraphs. If you're looking at a website, little sections, put things in boxes, make them stand out in various different ways to draw attention to the more important things for those that are going to skim read it.
Awesome. That's amazing, Emily. Some great tips there. Okay. If you've enjoyed this video, then do the usual. Please hit the like button. If you've not subscribed yet, please subscribe, and please hit the bell notification if you want notifications of new videos. If you have any questions or any comments, please put them in the comments below. And what I've done in the description for you is there are some links to some resources. If you've not grabbed those resources yet, then please do. And next video in the series, this is video 4. Video number 5 is we're going to be talking about how do you grab attention in your words? How do we use words and language? How to create headlines, for example? What are the things that we can do to get people's attention, to want to read on, to take the next action, which might be to, for example, book a meeting with you. We'll see you on the next video soon. Bye for now.